Hey guys, it's me, producer Ross, and welcome to another edition of my ITFC. And today I am joined by Mark Tuxford. Mark, how you been doing during lockdown and all that jazz? And thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, it's been good to be here. Obviously, lockdown's been pretty tough for a lot of people. But yeah, as I said to you before, I think it's one of these sort of things, just keep busy. We've obviously got the FNZ football going on with other town fans as well. So it's been nice to sort of branch out, talk to familiar faces from the football world and just get their take on their career really.
I'm always interested to know how, fans become a fan of a club. Sometimes it is because you're born around this area or your dad or granddad or whatever. But for yourself, how did you become a town fan?
Well, it's none of the above really. I think for me it all started when I just liked playing football, and it was very much a case of playing football with your friends and playing for teams as well. But I was kind of on the verge of supporting Man United. They were sort of winning everything at the time as well, and I come from a family that don't particularly like football, so it was quite difficult to follow on from someone's allegiance to a side, I suppose. But yeah, my love for town sort of came about in the 2000 playoffs really. So we went down the Huntsman's pub. I was probably about 8 or 9 at the time, I think it was. I got a shirt, someone gave me a shirt, and then I don't really remember too much of the game, other than the goals, to be perfectly honest. And obviously Royce's goal going in, making it the fourth, and obviously confirming Premiership was a moment that I'll always remember. And yeah, that's where it started really. It was a playoff 2000, so you could call me a glory hunter, but I suppose, as every Ipswich fan know, no one's a glory hunter anymore, so yeah. My first Ipswich game was at Portman Road, so it was a 0-0 draw against Chelsea. I think it was in April. I think it was towards the end of that season, and that was the same time the North Stand opened, the top tier. So we got in there the first game. I believe Marcus Bent missed a penalty. I think it was. It wasn't a great game by any stretch of the imagination, but it was obviously nice for me to go to my first Ipswich game. And it was obviously sometime after that playoffs as well. So that was, I think that was like a birthday or Christmas present. So that was nice. It was good to be in the stadium at Portman Road for the first time, and obviously watching Premier League football. So yeah, it was nice. Well, I think everyone's probably got a few. The likes of what I call our sort of golden generation of Matt Holland, Jim Magilton, Martin Royce. Shefki Kuchi as well was always a fan favourite. He was a favourite of mine as well, obviously for his Swan Dive celebration. But I think probably my first favourite footballer was Marcus Stewart anyway. The gloves that he used to put on with no sleeves on and all that sort of stuff in the European football as well on a cold night. But yeah, Marcus Stewart was the first player that got on the back of my shirt. So I think I always say that Marcus Stewart is my sort of boyhood sort of favourite really. I think my favourite game that I've seen live was at Portman Road, and that was Ipswich against Wigan. I think it was just before, just after Christmas, I think it was, and it was the season where we were first and they were second, I think it was. Leighton Baines scored an absolute screamer
top
from
bins
outside the area. Yeah, top bins. And yeah, I remember, I think it was Richard Naylor and Darren Bent that scored in that game as well. But yeah, I just remember it was obviously on Sky as well, so it was a bit of a buzz around the ground. And obviously, two teams going for promotion as well. And obviously Wigan that season were unreal with Jason Roberts and Nathan Ellington. And obviously Jimmy Bullard, as we all know. But yeah, good side they were. And we had a good side as well, I think. It was obviously a shame that we didn't go up that season, but in terms of memorable games, I think that was probably my standout one. My favourite goal I've probably seen in Ipswich is probably Jermaine Wright's volley against Rotherham quite a few years ago. So yeah, it was just outside the area, top bins against Rotherham. I think it was at Millmore at the time. I think it was their old ground. But yeah, that's probably a standout for me. It's not very often we score, absolute worldies. So yeah, that's probably one. I think Tom Lawrence, during his loan spell, scored quite a few good goals. You could probably pick quite a few that probably Marcus Stewart scored, Darren Bent, Shefki Kuchi, but one that probably sticks out for me was Jermaine Wright's goal. If we go through sort of like home kits and away kits, I think my favourite home kit is obviously probably the first kit I had, which was the Green King 2000 playoff Wembley one. And then probably second from that would be the 2014-2015 home shirt, where we reached the playoffs. That was a nice shirt, nice and simple. The away shirts I'll probably say is the maroon TXU Energy one that we had in 2003, I think it was, around that sort of time. But yeah, I'll probably say they're my sort of favourite kits. Probably say that black Eon one, the third kit we had as well. That was quite nice. But yeah, probably out of all of those four, I'll probably say the one that probably means the most, which is the playoff one, the Green King home shirt. Probably my favourite ground ever that I've been to is probably the Nou Camp for the stadium tour there. I've watched games there as well, but probably my favourite away ground, so to speak, would be when I went and watched Lazio against Roma. The atmosphere was unreal. Stadio Olimpico is a nice stadium as well, but from an Ipswich point of view, I quite like a ground that's quite traditional. Not one of these sort of the modern ones, if you like. But I'd probably say Luton Town, actually. It's one of those sort of grounds that's got it's one of those, it's just got a feel for it. It's, you go through people's back gardens, you go through the away end. Charlton away is also a good day out. I've never actually been to the old Wembley, but for some reason I've got such an affiliation with that. It must be obviously through the playoffs as well, but even looking at it on telly and through pictures and things like that, I wish I had have gone. But yeah, so my sort of favourite one, I'd probably say, probably just Luton, I think, just because of its feel for it, I think.
Why not? Probably the only person to ever say that, but it is what it is.
Well, there's so many to pick, I suppose. In terms of low points following Ipswich, it's not easy. I think this club will probably be the death of me at one point. But yeah, I think obviously it's got to be the relegation from the Championship. Obviously, I was a young kid when we got relegated from the Premier League. I remember it being quite painful, but as you get older and you support the club more, it just means more, doesn't it? And the Championship relegation was obviously something that we didn't expect. Obviously, Mick McCarthy going and then, the sort of new era. Paul Hurst was always out of his depth, I think, really, and the team changing so much as well. But yeah, that's got to be the worst time supporting Ipswich was the relegation a couple of years ago. I suppose a couple of moments, obviously, the playoffs obviously is number one, but Priskin scoring against Arsenal. I remember sitting and watching it in a pub and running down the length of the pub just to celebrate, watching it on Sky. Yeah, there's a couple. There's probably more doom and gloom than there is positives, I suppose. Always, 10 years ago when we beat Norwich, they're memorable because we haven't beaten them since. But yeah, those kind of moments, derby days, even when we lose, the feeling before it's always good, especially if we haven't played them for a couple of years, whether they've been in the Premier League or whatever else. So yeah, but yeah, number one obviously has got to be the playoffs, and it will always stick in my head. So yeah.
Well, Mark, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining me. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I think, obviously it's been a pleasure coming on. Nice to talk about Ipswich again. But yeah, hopefully we can just have a good season. And thanks for having me on.